No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
And here we go. This is Mike Lodge. I'm glad that you've joined me. I am the business advisor. We're going to be talking about business today. I hope you all are having a great morning, a good beginning of the day. I do my podcast early in the morning, so I always try to have a good start in the day. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. But I think today's going to be a good day. Listen, we've been asking the question of when the government is going to run out of money because we still don't have a debt ceiling agreement in place. And so we have a problem. I say we have a problem a lot in my podcast, only because we do. So when will the U.S. run out of money to pay its bills? Moody's had a good story this morning. And it says this. It says, when will the United States run out of money available to pay its bills? Economists at Moody's Analytics say the day is August 18, unless the Congress passes an act to raise the spending limit. Now, first, remember, we officially ran out of money on January 18th. And then they said, we can push it forward until June. And now it's to August. So my question is, do they even know what they're doing? So anyway, when will the United States run out of money? It will be on August 18th. That's the analytics. An analysis that Moody's prepared for the Senate Banking Committee also warns of dire consequences if the U.S. should default on its debts. So, what else does it say? It says, so let's try to work through the basics. The country actually reached the debt ceiling in January. Got to the point where the U.S. had borrowed as much as current law will allow it to borrow. And yet our bills are still being paid. So what exactly is happening? So on January 19th, 18th, 19th, whatever the day was, we hit the ceiling. Now the U.S. Treasury has what they call extraordinary measures where they can delay payments to certain accounts. They can delay funding to the retirement accounts of federal government workers, for example, or move some other accounts around to continue to stay under the debt ceiling. But that only lasts so long. So by August 18th, we estimate the Treasury will no longer have the room to maneuver. And we will be facing the real debt ceiling. So, here's the deal, okay? January is when we hit that limit, right? We could no longer go out and borrow. By the way, we shouldn't be borrowing anyway. The interest on what is borrowed against the debt is billions of dollars. It's like $400 billion that we have to pay in interest on this debt. So the more, the greater the amount that they raise this ceiling to, the more they can go out and borrow, and the more interest that's going to be paid or that's going to be owed. This is absolutely crazy. The whole government financial system is out of control. Now, the president is coming out with his budget today. And the highlights of that is he wants to raise taxes. Now, he's already said that he's going to raise taxes. He says he can reduce the deficit by $2 trillion. I'm sorry, $2 trillion just doesn't cut it when we are, what, $40-something trillion in spending? I mean, we're absolutely crazy. $2 trillion isn't even nothing. And now he wants to raise taxes on the very wealthy, which is you and I. No matter if we're not wealthy, it's still going to hit us. Because no matter what the president says, he always does the opposite. No matter what the Congress or the Senate say, they always do the opposite. And it always trickles down to you and me. We are not the billionaires, but we are the ones that gets hit. And by the way, taxing the billionaires or the millionaires is absolutely crazy because it's never worked in any other country. Other countries have tried to do it, and it's always failed. Because what happens? The rich pick themselves up and move to another country. They can do that. The rest of us, we can't do it. So they can't get the money out of the billionaires and the millionaires, so they come after you and I because it trickles down to us. And by the way, every time that you raise taxes, as an example, he wants to raise taxes on corporations. Every time you raise taxes, that inflates the cost to you and me. That's how it works. So if the president thinks he's smart, he's not. He's the dumbest moron out there at the moment because he's not thinking about ways to reduce government, reduce spending, and reduce the national debt. And by the way, we have millions and millions and millions and billions of dollars sitting in facilities that the government owns that are shut down. Sell them off and pay off this debt. That's what any smart person has to do. I tell you, the more and more I think about what government is doing to this great nation, I get so frustrated. I get frustrated because they're not thinking logically. They're thinking politically. Politics never solves anything on the economic front. It never has. It never will be. Political agendas cause more issues than solve the issues. We have a problem. And this nation needs to correct itself very quickly. Now, if they are so worried about this debt limit, they better be extremely worried about how much we are spending. But they're not. You never hear them talk about it. In fact, by the way, the Republicans have become very silent on spending. I haven't heard anything from them in many, many days. I tell you, you and I, when we don't have enough money, what do? We cut. We cut our spending. We do without. So this is a ridiculous situation that this country is in. By the way, there was an interesting story also that I read. And it said that half of Americans say they'd lose everything in a recession. Now that's a pretty sad situation. The government wants to spend more money. They want to tax more Americans. And here we are in a recession. I don't care what the government says. I don't care what Biden says. I don't care what Wall Street says. We are in a recession. We have met the milestones of what a recession is a long time ago. Last year we met that. So we are in a recession. Jobs are being cut. And they're going to get even more cut. But the U.S. government is so filled with fools that they don't know what they're doing, and it's causing havoc upon us. So if more than half of Americans feel that they would lose everything, we are in a sticky wicket. Because I measure the economy not by what Wall Street is doing. By the way, Wall Street is extremely upset with Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve because he is going to raise the interest rates more. And now Wall Street is saying we are going to go into a recession. Dummies, we are in a recession. Stop thinking we're not in a recession because we are in a recession. Stop trying to spin something that is ludicrous because we are in financial crisis at the moment. So half of us may lose everything if we go into a deeper recession. Let's just call it a deeper recession. And if the interest rates go up, we will be pushed over into a greater economic crisis than where we are at the moment. And Americans, you need to plan. And one of the part of that article They gave some suggestions of what you should be doing. Now, I don't know how they came up with this because it's common sense, okay? But it's also, some of these are not doable because your income is not up to par with inflation. So they came up, the small idea was saving more money. Well, tell me how you save more money if your wages are being eaten up by inflation. By the way, I went past the gas station. Remember I told you about the gas station? First when I went past it was at $2.84, something like that. Then it went up to $2.99. Now it's at $3.19 as of yesterday. Within one day, it went up to $3.19. So now we're past the $3 mark on our way up. That's called inflation, by the way. So they came up with this idea. Save more money. In this economic crisis, most of you guys out there are unable to save more money because everything is going to meet children's issues or housing issues or payment issues. You're defaulting on your car loans. You're defaulting on your credit cards. So the issue is, how do you save money? The other thing they came up with is paying off debt. Well, we have a good example of our lives at the moment of not having enough cash flow to pay off a lot of this stuff. So we have to look at our finances again and we have to start slashing again, which the government should be doing. Paying off debt. They need to be paying off debt. And then they said what not to do. And it said some Americans are selling off investments to prepare for a recession. No, they're not paying off debt. They're not selling off investments to plan for a recession. They're paying it off because they don't have enough money to live on at the moment. They are drawing from their 401k plans, and some of those 401k plans are down to zero. So if the U.S. government does not act very quickly here and get their I was going to say ASS, but get their heads together, we'll say that. To get their heads together and start cutting the spending part, then look at what our debt ceiling should be at. Because the spending has to be looked at before any debt ceiling can be agreed upon. And they've got to start cutting a lot of things that are in these budgets out there. Oh my gosh. You know what, I can go on and I can get frustrated as much as possible, but I've got a business to run. You've got a life to run. I've got a life to run. But the government doesn't seem to even care how it's affecting the citizens of this great nation. I would tell all of you, get on the phone and tell these guys, cut government costs. Get on the phone. Get out your emails. Do whatever you can do. But get on there and say, listen, you've got to cut these costs before you even talk about a debt ceiling, because we need to start running this country better, more ethically. Listen, if you'd like to have some business planning or business coaching, just go to my website at www.lodge-co.com. If you have a business question, send it to me at thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast and follow me and see all my blogs and whatever else I do, podcasts, go to buymeacoffee.com/Michael Lodge. Okay, guys, we got to do our best. We got to survive this, and we will, because we are better financial planners than the U.S. government. Love you guys. Talk with you soon. Bye.